Good morning to all of you. Right. So another important difference in the law of torts is vis major or act of God. So act of God, you may be like, if you have seen the film Oh My God or Gopala Gopala in Telugu, you will easily understand the critical point of the insurance company to avoid the claim by stating the act of God. And very recently, our Finance Minister, Madam Nirmala Sitharaman, she also stated that the COVID, she has described COVID-19 also as an act of God. So be that as it may, but let us confine to our the law of torts. Vis major means irresistible force which cannot be prevented. Act of God, which irresistible force which can't be prevented. It is an extraordinary circumstance which could not be foreseen or expected. Like examples are storms, earthquakes, tsunami, volcanoes, even glaciers. Very recently glacier erupted from Ganga. Glaciers and tsunami, all these are all the act of God. Right? So the cyclones. You might have seen, since you are youngsters, you might have experienced the Hudhud cyclone in Visakhapatnam, which washed away entire city in the year 2014. So, in such cases, something happens, you cannot claim it as a tort. So, it is a very good defense, provided you have to prove that it is due to the act of God. It is important. In an inevitable accident, you have to say that we have taken all the precautions, but this happened. But act of God, which never expected, not at all foreseen, suddenly. So, when Gopala Venkatesh closes the shop and goes home, and night some pretty good, that is a spark comes and actually his shop totally burned to ashes. So this is what is called act of God, right? So act of God is a good defense, and I will give you the certain case laws. Nichols versus Marshland is good. Nichols versus Marshland, 1876. So what happened is, at that time, for running a rice mill or for running all these things, they used to depend on the water. Water will be converted into steam, and then only the machine would operate. So Mr. Marshland, he constructed some artificial lakes. Artificial lakes are just like our reservoirs to preserve water. He constructed artificial lakes in his land, right? But there were rains. He has constructed bunds also, which are sufficient in the ordinary course. They can save the water inside the lake itself. He constructed them well. No, he has taken all precautions. But since there were torrential rains or incessant rains or continuous downpours of rain, then the excess water overflowed and it has come out. Of course, some of them caused a breach to the lake also. They have come onto the other places and they have damaged 4 bridges belonging to our Nichols. This is a company. So they claimed damages, but the court held that it is due to the act of God. You can't expect. He has taken, just like inevitable accident, he has taken all precautions. So they are strong. The artificial lakes, the bunds are strong enough to face the ordinary rains. But due to the torrential rains, so they were broken, they were breached, and nobody expected that. It is act of God. And I will give you a negative examples also that you have to learn. It is a very famous case. Ramalinga versus Narayan Reddy, 1971. So what happened is, Mr. Ramalinga he is belonging to Tamil Nadu. He has gone to some town, he has purchased some material, and he has given it to the transport organization belonging to Reddy. So he has deposited the same. So normally, the transport company will carry the consignment from one place to the other. He expected the same to be received by 2 or 3 days, but he did not receive them. So ultimately, when he has approached the transport company, they said some other things. Ultimately, the matter came to the court. Now, the defense taken by Mr. Narayan Reddy is that while the transport and the consignment articles were being carried on from one place to the destination of this Ramalinga Nadar, en route, some unruly mob robbed away the entire material. They have taken away the entire material. So it is an act of God. But the Honorable Court did not agree. Yes, matter went up to Supreme Court rejected the claim. and directed him to pay compensation because he did not give any police complaint. This is the main problem. Suppose if tomorrow the police catch the real offenders and recover the property, and that too, it cannot come as an act of God, unforced. So the driver should have taken all precautions, or at least should have stopped when the unruly mob is there. So how can you allow them to take away what? Even then they take away, then he has to give a complaint without doing all these things. So the court held that destructive activities of the mob fringe cannot be considered as an act of God. Then remove. Another case, Krishna Bus Service. Krishna Bus Service Limited versus Srimati Mangli and others. So not this our Mangli. Saranga music, no. Then Srimati Mangli and others, 1976. So what happened is, so Krishna their bus, this bus number DLB 5749, it overturned and caused the death of Wazir Chand, who is the husband of Mangli, right? The bus service people, they took it as an act of God, because what happened is there were incessant rains, so the road was slippery, right? The road was slippery. On that fateful day, the road was slippery. So when he applied, on seeing some animal coming, he suddenly applied brakes, due to which the vehicle overturned, and they claim it as an act of God. But Supreme Court denied. No, it is not. So when the road is slippery, either you should go in a very slow manner, or you should drive the vehicle in a cautionary manner, but you cannot apply sudden brakes. So it is not at all an act of God. So definitely you have to pay compensation. So why I am telling the negative examples is, you have to learn the negative examples are not all positive. So please remember these case laws and write the examinations well. Thank you very much.